Choosing to get lit or choosing fire. That's financially independent, retire early. One has to do with working now and playing later, and the other one is so much more fun. It's playing now and working later. Now, although it's more fun and more appealing, I highly recommend you consider fire, especially if you're in your early 20s or maybe your 30s. Because I'm not talking about how different your life could be in 20 or 30 years. It's more just like 5 years, maybe 5 or 10 years, how dramatically your life can look compared to some of your peers that chose to get lit. Now, if you're choosing fire, I recommend you consider just a couple of things. Number one is housing. Generally speaking, housing is one of your most expensive expenses. I would recommend, if you're able to, say no to renting and maybe just stay at your parents' house a little bit longer than some of your friends. Maybe they'll point and laugh at you for a little bit. If they do, that's not the friends you need anyway. But maybe you'll have the last laugh because you're not spending your money on rent. Consider what your rent could be or would be and maybe spend it anyways. But instead of giving that money to a landlord, maybe you can spend it over here to a savings account that you own but you don't have easy access to, so you're not tempted to spend it. Because you're staying at home, maybe your parents won't charge you, you're putting that money to the side, and then it's not just money wasted. You can use that money later to start a business or maybe save up for a down payment for a house. Now, as soon as you're able to buy a house, I highly recommend you do it because I consider that like a defensive play. Consider rent versus owning. Generally speaking, when you're renting an apartment, your rent goes up year over year. At the same time, property values go up year over year. So maybe you have a friend that has a really nice apartment, but they could be putting themselves in a bad position in just a couple of years when they find that their rent is going up and up and up. So it's harder for them to save money. At the same time, homes are getting more expensive, so it's hard to save money for a more expensive house, so they have to rent. Then they find themselves in this circle of trouble. As soon as you're able to, buy a house and lock in a payment. What you're able to do is also lock in a price. So as these homes go up in value, it actually benefits you because the gap of the value of the home and what you owe on it, that's called equity. And that's money basically in your pocket. You can borrow against it. You can sell the house and cash it out. You have a couple of options. And you're also locking in a payment. So as people's rents are going up, your payment should be fixed for 30 years. There are parts of your payment like taxes and insurance that can vary from year to year, but the big part of your mortgage, your principal and interest, could be fixed for 30 years. So in the scenario where your salary does not increase, your rent's not going to increase because you don't have rent. So it's not harder and harder every year for you to save money. Now, in the scenario where your income does increase, your payment is the same. So instead of it going up and your income going up where it's about the same, one, you can actually get ahead. It's easier to pay off your mortgage as your salary increases because your payment is pretty much the same. Now, as a bonus, what I would recommend you do is something that I did when I was younger. In my early 20s, I bought a house and I could afford the monthly payment by myself. I kind of had to get the mortgage in the first place. But what I did was I filled up 2 bedrooms. I had a 3-bedroom house. I filled up 2 bedrooms with roommates. It was fun to live with people when you're young anyways. I had 2 roommates, and the rents that they paid me, when you add them together, they were more than my mortgage. So I did that for about 2 years where I really didn't even pay my own mortgage. My property values go up, and then in 2 years I sold and I cashed out a good check that I was able to roll over to my next investment. So consider doing that if you're able to. Now, the second thing I would recommend you say no to is lifestyle creep. That's where you make more money, but you also spend more money. You make more money and then you spend more money. So you never really keep any money. It's very common for someone to score a new job or promotion where they're making more money than ever before, and then they celebrate with a new car or a new truck or maybe new wardrobe or just whatever it may be. Maybe they're signing up for debts where they're not really keeping more money in their pocket. So as your expenses increase and your income increases, you're not really getting ahead. You still have to work more to pay off just whatever your living expenses and your debts are. So consider saying no to lifestyle creep. Consider saying no to consumer debt. And you can say yes to these things later. Just kind of delay the gratification to where you're in a better footing. A rule of thumb for me is if I can qualify for the payment, that does not mean I can afford it. That just means somebody's willing to give me the money. For me to afford something, that's 100% my opinion because I also have to have money to save. I also have to have money budgeted for vacations. I also have to have money for other things, not just to make a payment. So say no to lifestyle creep. say no to debts. Now, if you're doing these things and you're choosing FIRE, what that enables you to do is have your expenses low, your income is going up, you can start doing things that are a little bit more risky. You can start your own business. You can pursue a job that's 100% commissions, where you only get paid if you sell something. It's higher risk, but it's also higher reward. And with these things that you're doing, these calculated risks that you're taking, they generally start to pay out, where you can have your 30-year mortgage paid off by 30 years old. And then you're not handcuffed to a job that you hate. You have no debts. Now you're working so you can live. You're not living just so you can work. Life looks completely different than if you're choosing to get lit and then you're stuck in that loop where you can't buy a house because it's hard to save money. You're stuck at a job that you hate. You have no freedom. Sometimes people have a job that only let them live like 20 days out the year. And my previous jobs, that could look like 5 personal, 10 sick days, and 5 vacation days. And I can't take them when somebody else is living their life or taking their vacation days. So FIRE to me just means that it's not necessarily stop working. That's not what retirement means to me, but it's just the freedom to say, I want to do this and I'm going to do it. And if somebody thinks it's risky, it's okay, because I played enough defense in the beginning where I can take calculated risk. So for me, I achieved a lot of this through real estate because I got involved in real estate early on. I bought a house. I saw that it worked. Proof of concept worked. I decided to get my real estate license. I sold real estate for about 6 years, and then I decided I don't want to do that anymore. And then I pursued a career in mortgages, and that's what I'm doing now. So if you're interested in chasing FIRE and you're wanting to learn more about real estate, how you can do this through real estate, buying homes, maybe investing in real estate, then consider hitting the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.